Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. The woman drank a magical potion for rejuvenation without thinking much about the negative effects. Yes, indeed. Stay away from me and don't follow me. In 1978, the story begins on Broadway. During a musical starring Madeline Ashton, the audience leaves the theater disappointed. Individuals think the show is a finished disappointment, and Madeline is excessively old for such jobs. As the audience continues to leave, Ashton sings the final song with inspiration. However, Madeline and the entire performance delighted a man in the hall. Dr. Ernest Menville tells his lover, writer Helen Harp, that Madeline is because he can't stop looking at her. Following the performance, Madeline notices wrinkles in her reflection that indicate her age. Then Helen comes into the changing area to welcome Madeline. It turns out that the women are friends from high school. Helen introduces the actress to her fiancé. Madeline is delighted to meet Ernest because she has heard that he is an outstanding plastic surgeon. Madeline begins to flirt with the man after he admits that he is obsessed with her. Helen is already regretting her decision to introduce them when she zealously interrupts their sweet conversation. Dr. Menville performs another operation a few days later and suddenly notices that Madeline is happily greeting him outside the door of their home. Ernest comforts the bride by explaining that they had a business dinner with Madeline and that the actress just needed expert advice. Helen is exceptionally stressed on the grounds that previously, Madeline has proactively removed a few men from her. Before the wedding, she specifically introduced Ernest to Madeline, hoping that the man would reject her and accept this. Please do not fall short. I was unable to take it once more. Ernest assures the bride that he does not care about Madeline, but Helen's nightmare soon becomes a reality. Presently, Madeline and Sensei are blissful. Recently marries, Helen watches everybody's delight and grasps her fingers, agonizingly out of resentment and anger. It takes 7 years. Helen's life has drastically changed during this time. She stopped taking care of herself after she got fat. She now lives in a rented apartment that is in complete disarray with a dozen cats. She only watches television for entertainment. The landowner thumps on the entryway and says he needs to expel the person for non-installment. Helen doesn't open the entryway and watches a film with Madeline Ashton, where her personality is obliterated. The door is already being kicked down by the police. However, when Helen rewatches the liquidation scene, she experiences genuine joy. Before long, Helen Harp winds up in a mental clinic. The doctor asks Helen if she wants to talk about something at a group meeting, but the offended woman has only been talking about Madeline for 6 months. But the specialist additionally separates and hollers at Helen. If Helen wishes to recover, she makes an effort to explain that. After that, she must forget about Madeline and get rid of her permanently. Helen agrees with this idea and decides to get rid of Madeline completely. An additional 7 years passed. The housekeeper brings breakfast and a letter from Madeline. The former actress now sleeps until noon and tries unsuccessfully to stop getting older. Madeline curiously opens the envelope containing a letter inviting her to a reception to celebrate the publication of Helen Harp's Forever Young. Madeline makes the sarcastic comment that Helen seems to get fat all the time. Out of nowhere, the lady causes to notice the way that her better half didn't go through the night with her in a similar bed. The servant says that he nodded off again in the review and goes up to Sensei. She brings him an alcoholic cocktail rather than breakfast. The man's life with Madeline has seen a lot of change. Presently, he is a powerless-willed alcoholic who despises his significant other and has lost his capabilities. Rather than a splendid profession as a plastic specialist, he is compelled to do cosmetics for carcasses at a memorial service home. Madeline, on the other hand, goes to the spa because she thinks she looks younger and better than everyone else. A spa worker tries to convince Madeline that serious treatments should not be performed at the Helen Harp's event. Time and again, Madeline shouts infuriated that tonight means a lot to her. The terrified woman offers to apply makeup or a mask. However, it intensifies Madeline's rage. Is it even your concern to listen to me? Stand there with your kits, like rocks and 11, and your skin from 22 years ago. Madeline is about to leave, but she suddenly offers to pay anything if the girl will do what she needs to. The salon owner suddenly shows up in the office after learning about the client's wealth. A strange individual sporting a nervous tic. The man welcomes Madeline to contact Leslie Vaughn, who acknowledges just a chosen handful. He informs Madeline, who is taken aback that Leslie will undoubtedly be able to assist her by handing her a business card. Madeline rips up the business card because she thinks the mysterious man is completely insane and leaves the office. Ernest and Madeline later make their way to Helen Harp's reception. The man promptly ends up close to the bar. He is suddenly recognized by a particular Vivian Adams. She recalls a time when Ernest transformed her aunt to such an extent that it was even regrettable to bury her. The doctor is asked by Vivian to reveal his secret. Ernest totally smoothly says that he involves paint for life-sized models. Spray paint is a great alternative to conventional cosmetics for use on inanimate skin. The woman was disgusted by such an explanation, and she hurried. Ernest asks his wife if she has seen Helen and approaches her. Madeline figures she won't come. They immediately recognize the thin beauty as Helen Harp. Briefly, they are stunned and shocked. Madeline is as of now in a rush to remove her significant other. However, he is determined to speak with his former partner. Madeline. He cannot do that. Therefore, she herself goes to a rival. At the meeting, they once more exude happiness and exchange compliments. Madeline says that she still feels bad about taking Ernest away from Helen, but the rejuvenated writer seems to have her own plan for retribution. Madeline hears from her that she never held Madeline responsible for anything because Ernest made the decision to leave on his own. Madeline realizes after some time that Helen is being serious with her. The lady chooses to draw nearer. Ernest admits that he has ruined his life after hearing it overheard, but Helen convinces him that Madeline has ruined him. She now claims that she never put Ernest at fault because women are always to blame. In such cases, Madeline understands that Helen is playing a twofold game. Ernest hears Madeline leaving the mansion in the middle of the night and realizes that he has lost a when he returns home and finds an old photo of the two of them together. The lady rushes to her young sweetheart named Dakota. Madeline recognizes right away that the man is not alone and is taken aback by the sudden visit. Madeline walks away as Dakota yells at her to find someone for herself. The offended woman smiles and gets wet as she leaves. Madeline is startled by her own reflection when she looks in the rearview mirror. Thankfully, the woman did not cause an accident when she abruptly broke in the middle of the road. Madeline attempts to discover a few beauty care products, however unexpectedly sees a similar torn business card with the location of the secretive Leslie Von Roman. The woman knows that this is her last chance to look and feel younger. Madeline pulls up in front of a massive old castle. Miss Vaughn has invited her to a phone call, where she is already waiting for her. She can assist because she knows what she wants and what women are afraid of. In the interim, Helen proceeds with her arrangement to dispose of her adversary. She makes use of Madeline's absence when she arrives at Ernest and enters the house. Helen tells him that she has rekindled her feelings for him as she gives him a hug. Helen is now much more free than she was before, and she doesn't hesitate to talk about her feelings. Helen's persistence shocks Ernest. The passing of time and the diminishment of female beauty are discussed by Leslie Von Roman. Well, it's the law of nature. Those in accordance with natural law. Finally, Leslie demonstrates the magic box's metal. From it, she takes out a container with the cherished solution of youth. Beguiling Miss Von Roman concedes that she is as of now 71 years of age. That is the manner by which successful the solution is. Madeline's youth and beauty will never fade after one sip. The amazing effect of the potion shocks the woman. But Miss Von Roman named it, and she isn't ready to pay that much for it. Madeline is going to leave, however Leslie suddenly stops her. Madeline will be the direct subject of her demonstration of the elixir's effects. Miss Von Roman punctures Madeline's finger with a blade. Furthermore, when a drop of the elixir enters the injury, her hand quickly becomes more youthful. Leslie Von Roman asks Madeline to keep this secret and warns the inspired woman that she should end her career in 10 years to avoid suspicion. Madeline immediately sends a check for the specified sum. She can even design her death, just like many famous people who have used the elixir have. In addition, Madeline must take care of herself in order to maintain her body's natural balance for an extended period of time. Madeline at last beverages the sought-after fluid, which spreads throughout the body right away. Madeline's secret society is symbolized by a gold brooch that Leslie wears to wish her eternal life. Prior to leaving the palace, Madeline comes by a mirror just before her eyes. Both the body and the face undergo transformation. Insanely content. Madeline gets home quickly. Helen ends her passionate embrace with Ernest at the same time. She reminds him that Madeline ruined his entire life and made him look bad. Helen additionally illuminates Ernest that Madeline is undermining him. The man is furious at yet another humiliation. He will separate from his better half as quickly as time permits. However, Helen explains that the unfortunate man cannot get a divorce because Madeline will ruin him. She explains to Ernest her ideal strategy. The man must administer sleeping pills to his wife. He and Helen then stage an automobile accident. Ernest is appalled by the concept, but Helen persuades him that it is only self-defense. Madeline goes back home. The contented woman never ceases to be in awe of her new body. Ernest isn't interested in talking to the enraged husband right this second. The man tells Madeline all that he thinks about her. Madeline insults her husband and refuses to be a scientist. Ernest responds by viciously attacking Madeline. They reach the very end of a massive staircase. Madeline beseeches her better half to stop. Furthermore, briefly, Ernest wakes up and lets his better half go. However, Madeline is about to lose her balance and is teetering on the edge of the step. She asks Ernest for help, but she doesn't call him. Therefore, rather than assisting his wife, he pushes her down the. Madeline gets numerous wounds contrary with life. Ernest is appalled by his actions. He promptly calls Helen and says that he previously disposed of his better half, however another way. Helen is concerned that things didn't work out as expected. They concoct a variant for the police. Madeline also begins to come to life behind Ernest back at the same time. When Madeline calls out to him, the man stops talking and doesn't know what's going on. When he turns around, he sees Madeline with her head twisted back in front of her. "You pushed me down the steps." Ernest is stunned by the resuscitated Madeline. She shouts at her better half in rage and is going to call the police. And when Madeline suddenly sees her own groin, she realizes that something is wrong with her. Madeline asks Ernest to move her neck back to how it should be, but Ernest is still in shock, so Madeline has to do everything herself. Ernest takes Madeline to the clinic. After examining the woman, the doctor comes to terrible conclusions. The patient has a wrecked neck. There is no heartbeat and her body is cold. The stunned doctor exits the waiting area. Ernest also has an insane fear. He flees for help after telling his wife that she has broken every natural law. Madeline passes out. Ernest calls the specialists for help, yet unexpectedly sees that they are saving their partner who had a cardiovascular failure in light of Madeline. When Ernest returns to the waiting area for his wife, he is informed that the morgue has taken her body. "Would it be advisable for us? We dread it." Ernest salvages his significant other from the mortuary and brings her back home. He now sees Madeline as a sign and miracle. In the meantime, Helen once more breaks into their mansion to assist Ernest in getting rid of his wife, but takes note of the man's activities. Ernest covers Madeline's body in life-sized model paint, and makes an effort to appear as natural as possible. He goes down there in search of turpentine and meets Helen by accident. She intends to bury Madeline's body and end her life as soon as possible. However, Ernest instructs Helen to remain silent so as not to disturb her. He demonstrates to Helen that he still has his wife alive. The woman doesn't believe Ernest until she sees Madeline ascending the stairs with her own eyes beside herself. She thinks Ernest has lost his mind. Madeline shoots Helen in the stomach with a gun out of rage at Helen. Madeline is certain that now Helen won't disrupt him. Madeline convinces Ernest to get rid of Helen's body as soon as possible while he is still shocked. He gets a shovel and leaves. However, Helen also comes to life and emerges from the water with a large stomach hole. Madeline realizes that Helen also drank the elixir when she notices a gold brooch on her. Ernest considers Helen to be another miracle. Ernest tries to remain calm as the women get into a fight. However, nothing aids. Utilizing shovels, they make every effort to cause each other harm. Rivals remind each other every one of the complaints. Helen says that her friend deliberately took away all of her men. Even though Madeline and Helen cannot destroy each other, she finds it offensive that Helen calls Madeline slutty. They concede their culpability to one another and request pardoning. They tell Ernest about this, but the man is determined to escape from Madeline and Helen, two crazy women, so he convinces Ernest to get their bodies in order one last time and promises not to bother him again. The women quickly came to the conclusion that Ernest shouldn't be let go because they can only get help from him. if their bodies are affected by something else. They choose to give him a remedy to drink with the goal that he, as well, lives everlastingly and is dependably there. Madeline and Helen are about to take him to Leslie von Roman and put him to sleep with whiskey. However, Ernest makes a hasty decision to stop drinking. Therefore, they only need to shock him with a face. Ernest awakens in the Leslie von Roman palace. She shows the man how the potion works and tells him he deserves to be young and happy. In any case, after the words about everlasting life, Ernest understands that he doesn't need this. All things considered, along these lines, he should unendingly get through Madeline and Helen and watch the finish of every individual who is of high repute to him. Ernest takes off from the lobby and winds up at an extraordinary gathering for individuals from the Mystery Club, where he meets Marilyn Monroe, Andy Warhol and Elvis. The ladies saw Sensei in the group and understood that he hasn't tipsy the mixture and is going to take off. Ernest tries to find a way out by scaling the castle's roof. Helen and Madeline join him. The man suddenly loses his footing and falls off the roof, but clings to a drain pipe high above the ground. Ernest is about to take a sip in order to survive the fall, but he realizes that women just want to use his services indefinitely. Madeline tells him to drink the potion he brought with him. Ernest tosses the vial of the potion and immediately collapses. The man, on the other hand, survives because he falls into the pool right away. Ernest sneaks away from the castle quickly. Madeline and Helen realize that their only option is to care for each other incessantly now that the pain on their bodies is beginning to crack. Also, yes, perpetually 37 years pass, the scene movements to the congregation for the goodbye function for Ernest Menville. After getting away, the man started a new family, had a lot of kids, and made a big difference in how society changed. He carried on with a blissful life and consistently needed to help individuals. Madeline and Helen are among the guests. They continue to mock Ernest even now. They exclaim with laughter before leaving the church. Women look in their purses for a face tint spray but are unable to find the right shade. We can see their hideous faces covered in paint when they lift their veils. Madeline and Helen kept on battling about the lost shower, yet abruptly, Helen steps on the can, snatches Madeline and both of them move down the steps and in a real sense break into pieces. Be that as it may, they are as yet alive, and Helen's head requests Madeline's head from their vehicles left far away. Would you consume the elixir if you were aware of a similar fate? Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.